Hello, my name is Jace Gibbons, and I am a co-parenting coach and consultant. And what I want to do is help you live a life that isn't consumed by co-parenting. Because what I know more than anything is that early on, and maybe even years into it, it can feel like everything you do is under a microscope, and everything you do, the courts are going to look at, your co-parent's going to attack you on, and, your kids are going to suffer from. And that's just not a place we want you to operate from. So a lot of the things I want to teach you are how to expand your capacity. A good way to think about that is if this is co-parenting, you have tried your best to get it as small as possible, not let it bother you, not say things bad about the co-parent. This is where you've gotten it. But right now, your capacity is this. Like if this is you and this is your capacity, this is how much of your capacity co-parenting is taking up. So what I do with my clients that I work with is that I expand their capacity. So even if co-parenting doesn't change, it has less impact because you keep expanding. So today is going to be one of those things where we're going to focus on communication. Because one of the biggest shifts you can make is how you communicate, how you listen, how you go into conversations, how you show up energetically in those things. So we're going to break down the first step in the ABCs of communication, and that's assume nothing. Because let's be real, when you walk into a conversation already assuming how it's going to go, you're not really open to communicating. You've already locked in on one outcome, and then you're trying to get your way to that outcome. So first I want to explain to you why assumptions kill communication. And assumptions narrow the field of possibilities. If you are assuming, if you're going into it, and we'll go over the assumptions in just a minute, they're going to be things like, they just hate me. They just make me feel stupid. They just message me to start drama. They just want to control me. They just hate me. I know I said that twice because some of you really love that one. Those things narrow the field of possibilities. You end up listening through your assumptions instead of really hearing. So anything outside of your expectation feels like a threat. Anything outside of that expectation, outside of that narrow focus, feels like it's getting off track. So you try to get it back. But the reality is that you are not listening. You are not communicating. You are focused and you are predetermined. And therefore, you are losing out on the fact that there could be multiple outcomes. There could be other ways that this works out, this conversation or this problem or this, switch. So if you assume they're going to blow up at you, then every sigh, every pause, even if they don't respond, even if you're texting and they don't respond right away, you will start assuming that they're up to no good. Okay? So what I want you to know is that even if you believe they hate you, even if they said they hate you, even if they have acted in a way that shows that they hate you, these aren't facts. They are stories you've told yourself. And you're like, yeah, Jay, but you don't get it. Like there's abuse, there's narcissism, there's financial abuse, there's these things. I'm not saying that these things don't happen. I'm not saying that these things don't exist. I'm not here to say that you're wrong. What I know and what I believe is that even when something is true or even when something has happened, we still get to decide how we feel about it. Okay, if you don't know my story, my kids aren't biologically mine. I have co-parented since birth, and I didn't find out that my kids weren't biologically mine until the older one was 2.5, the younger one was just over a year. All of the work I've done since then hasn't changed the fact that I didn't know that. It hasn't changed the fact that my co-parent, was acting and was letting me believe those things. So what I want you to know is what I'm saying as stories isn't fictional. Those, what happened to me happened, what happened to you happened, but just like I have gotten to choose how I feel, choose what I think, choose how I talk about and think about my co-parent, and I also get to choose whether I make assumptions, you get the same thing, okay? And so what I want to do is give you an example outside of co-parenting, because if there's one thing that you can learn from me is that I can always connect co-parenting issues to parenting issues, and if they connect from co-parenting to parenting, they're going to connect outside of those two things as well. So I'm not just teaching you how to become a better co-parent, I'm teaching you how to expand your capacity in general so that one problem can't derail your day, week, month, year, right? Because I know that there's problems you've been dealing with that have taken up weeks, that have taken up months, that have taken up years of your life. So one thing that we know about assumptions is that you are going to always get more of what you look for. Okay, so think about your kids. Let's say they stayed up super late. If you assume that they're going to be cranky, that they're going to be tired, that they're going to, throw tantrums the next day, then that next day, what are you going to be looking for? Every little thing that shows you, oh, that's a tantrum. Every complaint, every yawn, every time that they talk back, you are searching for proof that your assumption was right. And then you parent them as if they are cranky, right? You parent them following through on your assumptions. So then you're like, see, this is why you should have gone to bed earlier. You might start blaming them. You might start feeling guilty. You might start in this downward spiral. This is exactly what happens with your co-parent. Even though you might say, Jay, I don't say anything bad about my co-parent, you assume bad things about your co-parent. Oh, Jay, I make sure I don't say anything bad in front of the kids. You still think bad things about your co-parent in front of the kids. And you also think bad things when you're communicating. So what you have to understand, and what I want you to really work through and start thinking about, is what story do you tell yourself when you have to reach out to your co-parent? Like, even before you send a message, before you get on the phone with them, before you see them in person, what story are you telling yourself about your co-parent? They're just going to say no. They just hate me. They just want me to suffer. And then what story do you tell yourself when your co-parent messages you? They always ask for so much. They're just gonna switch things. They're not gonna listen. And what I want you to know is that to open up the possibilities of communication, you have to be willing to drop your assumptions. You're like, Jay, I do anything to make co-parenting work. I do anything. I'm trying everything. Then you gotta try dropping your assumptions, because assumptions sabotage the communication. They rob you of accountability because you feel justified every time your co-parent matches one of your assumptions. They create self-fulfilling prophecies. Your energy makes the thing you fear more likely to happen. If you are operating from a fear-based mindset, then you're going to be looking for things to, validate that fear. So what I want you to be able to do is, your old story is, they're doing that just to hurt me. The new story is, they're doing that just to make themselves feel better. Like, what I want you to do from now on is, I want you to let their behavior be for and about them. And I want your behavior to be for and about you. I know that there's a lot of talk about co-parenting that it's like, it's always like, what you've heard about co-parenting so far is so focused on the other person. It's so focused on what they should do and how you should respond to it. You've been taught to biff. You've been taught to gray rock. You've been taught to keep your emotions to the side. You've been taught that, you should be working together. You guys should be doing this amicably. You guys should be showing up as a, group, as a team for your kids. But the reality is that if you're following me and you're watching this video, then you've tried doing it in a way that you should do, and it hasn't worked. It hasn't changed. And my dog is wanting to get his 2 cents in as well. So when the difference is the old story of, they're doing that just to hurt me, that's their actions are all about me. What they're doing is all about me. You're assuming intent. You're assuming that you know exactly how they think, exactly how they operate. But you have to understand that they're operating from conditioning that has been decades long. They've been operating that way long before you came around. So one of the ego deaths that you have to have is that all of their behaviors, all of their words aren't really about you. It's about the conditioning that they've had from childhood that have shown up over and over and over again. And you were attracted to that because of your conditioning. But that's a video for a different day. So the difference between they're doing that just to hurt me and they're doing that just to make themselves feel better is that you let it be for and about them. It's not your responsibility to change. It's not your responsibility to fix it. It's not your responsibility to just not be hurt. It's okay to be hurt. And there are ways to process through your pain that we will cover in another video. So what I want you to do, the next time your co-parent texts you or messages you, ask yourself, what story am I telling myself right now? Is this assumption? Because if it's an assumption, is it helping me or sabotaging me? And then the accountability piece is that it's more than likely sabotaging you. So there are, when I talk about the ABCs of communication, there are further ideas. The B is to be curious. There's check for control, and then deliver your truth. And I teach through these things in my creators program which right now is a 12-week program dedicated just to moms. Dads, I work with you guys one-on-one. I will be building you a program in 2026. But there is a way to practice these things. So what I want you to be able to do as well is get to the point where your assumptions don't drive your communication, because what I want to do and give you a little bit of a heads up about is the simple fact that a lot of times you run into you run into communication problems that are actually just you trying to convince. Okay? So I want you to know that you are able to let go of a lot of your communication problems, because a lot of your communication problems are convincing problems. But we'll get to that again in another video. So to wrap this one up, I want you to know that your assumptions shrink the communication down to one path. And if it doesn't work that one path, then you think things are going wrong. But that's your fear, and that's control coming into play. And if you're trying to control, then you're not trying to communicate. So if you want to learn more about the ABCs of communication, how you can apply this in real time, stick around for more videos. But also, if you want to meet with me or my team to talk through this, you can set up a free clarity call, and we can sit and talk, and I'll help you see where some of your breakdowns are happening, and it can be beyond communication. We help with boundaries. We help with finding your identity. We help with, be confident as a parent. So there are ways to help. If you check the links, you can see what your options are, because I really believe that no matter who you are and what your situation is, there is a path forward. And I want you to know, coming from somebody who has faced the hardest things and been through hell and back, and now I coach others, you're not going to show us something that is impossible. And I want you to know that you're not alone. So my name is Jace Gibbons. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you know that co-parenting doesn't have to dominate your life. It can simply just be part of your life.